Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Ambassador Lighthizer, for your presence here today. One issue I wanted to bring up is the effect trade agreements have on the farmers of my South Florida district. Many people not from South Florida might be surprised to know that Miami-Dade County is one of the largest ag-producing counties in the state. Most people think about our beaches, and we're very proud of those, but we also have a very robust ag industry in South Florida. We have avocados, mangoes, tomatoes, and many other specialty crops which can be grown year-round. So as we renegotiate NAFTA, which I support, I'm concerned with how the deal will affect our farmers across the country. We know a lot of farmers have benefited greatly from NAFTA. However, the story is a little bit different in South Dade. I try to spend as much time as I can with these farmers, and they have many issues that they're concerned about, immigration, taxes, but NAFTA is certainly a major one. Specialty crops like tomato, squash, eggplants, strawberries, pretty much anything that is hand-picked faces a significant disadvantage when it comes to Mexican competition. Mexico has a similar climate, and for a host of reasons can unfairly compete against many of my constituents. Ambassador, I have raised this issue multiple times as NAFTA is being renegotiated for the fair treatment of South Dade, especially these specialty crops and the farmers who grow them. I have mentioned this to you and your staff, Secretary Ross and Mr. Navarro. This issue is of critical importance to the South Dade farming community. Can you discuss what we might be able to achieve through this NAFTA renegotiation to put these South Florida farmers on a level playing field with Mexico moving forward?
Well, first of all, we appreciate your input and those of other members from Florida on this issue. We realize how important it is when we, as I said before, when we talk about how important agriculture is and the agricultural sales to Mexico, and they are extremely important. We overall have a trade deficit in agriculture with Mexico, and it's entirely because of the specialty crops, the fruits and vegetables that you're talking about. So, and there are a whole additional elements of the seasonality and the perishability. There are just a lot of things that make it a very complicated issue. And I assure you it's something that we are going to focus on in this negotiation, and hopefully we're going to get an outcome that's going to satisfy the producers in your district and in all of Florida. But it's a major problem, and you're right. It's the one, maybe not the one, but it is a major outlier in the whole agriculture story with respect to NAFTA, and it's something that I think we have to be cognizant of and try to work on. So we very much appreciate your involvement on the issue.
Well, and I appreciate your commitment, and we will continue working with you and with your office and other administration officials to try to make as much progress as possible. Another issue I'd like to briefly touch on is the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. Earlier this month, I joined members of the TTIP caucus, including 7 members of the Ways and Means Committee, in sending a letter to your office in support of continued TTIP negotiations. Can you talk about the positive benefits TTIP could have for our economy, especially with the inclusion of a dedicated chapter in the agreement identifying the importance of small and medium-sized enterprises?
Well, we have an ongoing reevaluation of all of our trade agreements and all of our ongoing negotiations right now at USTR. And we're looking at the benefits and the drawbacks, the trade-offs that we see. But I think that TTIP is an area where there are a lot of very positive reasons to go forward with that. It, of course, requires 2 people to be involved in a negotiation, and for a variety of reasons, largely electoral process, the European Union's not in a position to be negotiating at this point. The last election I think that they have this year is in September in Germany, and then I think at that point they'll start focusing on this. But then they have Brexit to focus on, so they have a lot of things that they have to look at too, and we also have priorities. But clearly this is a very likely potential agreement, and it was entered into because an awful lot of people saw a benefit to it. So as we go through this process, I think that we will. We'll make an analysis. We'll look at the pluses and minuses and the views of of the 7 members of the caucus that are Ways and Means Committee will be very important to us, as all, I should say, all members.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador.